with Ms. LeBlanc.
Good evening. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Let's take a moment of silence for all the cancer survivors, loved ones lost, and those battling this horrible disease. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Fire evacuation announcement. In the unlikely event of a fire, you can exit out the back doors of the chambers and out to the parking lot, or the side doors of the chambers, first door on your left, down the stairs, and out to the parking lot. Leslie, can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. LeBlanc,
Here.
Mrs. Acree,
Here.
Dr. Kalnin,
Here.
Mrs. Cushman,
Here.
Mr. Gauss,
Here.
Mr. Kober, Mrs. Pickett,
Here.
Mr. Ryder,
Here.
Chairwoman Riley.
Here. All right. For our penultimate meeting tonight, we are going to have John Day come and give us the attendance update. I had to get that word in there.
All right, good evening. So last year I came to talk about the introduction of the LEAP program. The LEAP program is a program designed to help improve chronic absenteeism within the school district. As you can see here, since 2021-22, we've had higher than our historical average for chronic absenteeism within the district. 2021 was actually a hybrid year, but you can see that back in 18-19, we were around 10%. Around 19-20, we were around 14%. We've been showing a steady decrease in our chronic absenteeism rate over the last few years. However, there's still a little bit more work to do, and I'm going to talk about a couple of interventions that we've put into place this year to help decrease chronic absenteeism. So when I was here last year, we talked about the LEAP program. So in that, it's a research-based grant-funded opportunity to implement a relational multi-visit home visit program designed as a targeted intervention. Basically, we would have a group of teachers, paras, school psychologists, so on, who would work after school hours to go and set up and make calls and home visits for families, for students who had begun to miss too much school. This program was funded by the Connecticut Department of Education. It's facilitated by Ed Advance. We received a $150,000 grant last year. It was originally intended to go through December of this year. However, there was a change, and they're allowing us to continue to use that same allocation through the end of this year. Good news with that is that in the most recent budget that's passed, they've now are funding the LEAP program more permanently through an RFP process, so districts can apply to continue LEAP funding into the future. So last year, we had about 30 home visitors who are working with Enfield families. They made about 886 contacts to families. That's things like scheduling, that's confirming home visits, follow-up calls to families after the home visits. 117 home visits were completed with Enfield families. And when meeting with the families, the reasons for chronic absenteeism are kind of shown over on the right there. So if you look, other is something that we'd need to dig in a little bit more. There probably shouldn't be that many others, but there was two that kind of stood out. One was student disengagement and student mental health. These were primarily in our secondary levels, and those two are probably connected. But a couple of good things to note, though. School climate and culture, there was really only about two respondents who said school climate and culture were issues that were causing student absenteeism. So that means that our schools are doing a good job in creating a kind of a welcoming environment for students. A couple other issues. Physical health came up. If you remember last year, we had a flu and stomach bug season in February. That there was a lot of student absenteeism around. And then transportation ended up being another one, relatively minor, but that was one of the higher reasons for it. So last year was our first year working with the LEAP program, and there was a couple things that we learned, and this was mostly from feedback with our home visitors. One was the attendance policies really weren't very clear to families. They didn't really understand the difference between excused, unexcused absences, and all of the different absence codes that we had. They didn't fully understand how the unexcused absence was different and what the implications of that could be. Second one is we needed to be a little more timely in our interventions, and this happens to be more of my fault. When we originally put our grant application in, the structure that we put forward was we would have our school attendance teams meet at their weekly meetings. They would bring back students that they were recommending to have a LEAP home visit intervention to our district attendance committee meeting, which met in monthly. And there we'd make sure that there weren't other siblings in other schools that would fall under the same thing. We were trying to prevent duplication, but in the process created a potential for 2-3 week gap of time between when the student was initially identified and when they were assigned to a home visitor. We've taken a look at that and we've changed that for this year. Another piece is the LEAP home visitors had, as part of the process, they're doing a survey every time they make a contact or home visit, a Qualtrics survey that goes back to Ed Advance, and then we get a summary of that monthly. However, that reduced time in communication, that added time to communication back to the attendance team. So we've made a change there as well. There was some issues with connecting supports on attendance. So the LEAP home visitors would meet, and because there were gaps in time, sometimes the supports weren't getting to the students and families fast enough. And online calibration and training, when we originally set up our schedule, we had an initial training that was run through the LEAP program. We had an overview meeting to start, and we had 2 calibration meetings throughout the year. In talking to other districts that have had a little bit more success, they're meeting with their home visitors monthly to share best practices and get feedback on how to improve the program. So moving forward, that's something that we're looking to do as well. So for this year, at the end of last year, we updated our attendance policy, and with that, we did the regulation for that. In there, we've clarified our attendance process, how unexcused and excused absences are calculated. We've updated our handbooks regarding this new policy. We changed our attendance letters in there, and you'll see some of the information we included on the next page, but we've included the state guidelines for attendance, what's documentation that should be included. We started using Parent Square to send out those letters. So now they're going out through a secure document delivery through Parent Square. So every Friday, the schools can run their attendance letters, and in about 5 to 10 minutes, they can send out the entire batch, and the parents get notified in email or through the Parent Square app with the secure document. So included in there, we included graphics, both in the reg and on the attendance letters. These come right from the state, showing how your absence is either calculated as excused or unexcused, how this changes after your 9th absence during the year, and the changes in documentation that are required. This will hopefully eliminate some of the questions or confusion that some of the families had about how attendance is calculated for those. So also some procedural changes. We rolled out Parent Square attendance at the start of the school year. So with that, the parents are getting their daily notifications through the Parent Square app, email, text, or so on. They can put in the documentation for the absence. So if it's absence 1 through 9, they can simply just send a message back through the app saying that my student is out today, they're ill, the student's out today, we're on family vacation, my student's out today, so on. And that covers the documentation for that. There were also instances where some parents didn't know that their students were absent until later. So this hopefully gets this out a little bit sooner. And the other piece is we brought in EduClimber. EduClimber is going to be one of our data management platforms, and we'll be running interventions through this platform. We now have a way for communication between our home visitors and our school attendance teams. It's a way to assign tasks and to see if they're completed in pretty much an instantaneous fashion. And I'll show you a little bit of that as we move on. So where are we headed? So our current ESSA goals, so Every Student Succeed Act, our milestones are by 2030 to have chronic absenteeism down to 5%. So last year, we were down to about 18%. The goal for this year is to bring it down to about 15.4, so gradually step down the rate through our interventions. So before I move on and kind of show what we've started building in EduClimber, any questions on LEAP, chronic absenteeism?
So Dick, just a quick question, just so you could address, and it's probably just more for like public understanding. Could you just go over, I guess, the definition of chronic absenteeism,
Sure.
just for those that might not
Absolutely.
be aware, and then compare it to what the
Sure.
standard conception
Chronic
of
absenteeism
attendance?
is when you've missed 10% or more of school on a rolling basis, right? So if it was the first 10 days of school and you missed a day, you could be considered chronically absent. Your status can change daily, right? So it's anyone who's just missed 10% or more of school.
Regardless of reason.
Regardless of reason. Doesn't matter. The only thing is out of school suspension because you don't have a choice of being absent.
Dr. Callen?
John, could you go back to the first slide?
Absolutely.
Maybe the second slide. But I don't know what it was. It was the reasons for absenteeism.
Here, sure.
There we go. That other is really a big category. Did you see any patterns there?
It was all over the place
It was,
for
there was
what
no-
the others were, and it was when they couldn't really articulate what it is. I think that as a group, we'll need to drill down more and see if we can better categorize these. This wasn't unique to Enfield. Other districts, we got a kind of a mid-year update to try and work with our families a little better to make sure that the other was better defined.
Okay.
And in student disengagement, that is often things like categories like students don't feel challenged at school. It could be anything from I don't feel challenged at school to I've already lost my credit in the
Yeah,
class. So that's a big spectrum there as well.
That was going to be my next question. Actually, that would probably include a lot of kids with mental health issues. And so that category, in addition to the mental health students, that would be quite a substantial sum of absentee kids. What type of intervention do you undertake for those families?
So that can vary. So that could be relational to start. So for instance, trying to find and connect students to an adult within the building, to then also it can go to recommending talking to a school counselor, social worker, it's as appropriate.
Okay.
And I think that disengagement and mental health, I think there's a little bit of overlap between those.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things where you can just check kind of one. I think that they tended to go together.
Right, right. So do you ever find that you have to refer outside of the school system for those mental health issues, or do you?
Actually, it's usually within the school, and then kind of my knowledge of it kind of drops off from there.
Okay.
It doesn't get reported that far through. That might be something that gets actually recorded, and I can show it in our EduClimber. We got a better process for tracking that now through the new software.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Ryder?
Thank you, John. I just had a quick question related to the Parent Square aspect. So you said that's our, number one tool for communications. It's where we send the emails. You can send an absent note back. Is that also a way that we're adding to our Parent Square users? Because last we heard we were like in the 60 percentile of people actually using Parent Square.
It's in the high 90s, though, for reachable through it. So even if you don't have the app, let's admit, I was a slacker parent on signing up for Granby Parent Square.
You're too invested in ours.
I got the Enfield ones a lot, but I hadn't actually signed up and put the app on my phone, but I still got an email or a text message if there was anything that came through. And in the same way, most of our families, it's over 90-something% are reachable through the app. It's like 95%.
Right, but what if I haven't signed up for the app?
If we have your email contact, it's still going to send that out to you.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that we're
Yep,
reaching.
and that's what I got until I broke down and got the app 2 weeks ago.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Ms. Pickett?
Thank you, John. A couple questions. One is, where does the home visiting data that the home visitors input to get this information, where is that kind of stored, and do school administrators have access to it?
so it's stored in a Qualtrics survey. So we get that survey result monthly after they're tabulated. So
Okay.
they take, and there is a period of time where the data closes, and then the Qualtrics survey is cleaned and sent back to us. I get that. I've shared it out at district attendance committee meetings, but we've come up with a new process to essentially get our own version without waiting through an intervention form, a smart form in EduClimber, so that we're getting that information essentially in real time.
Awesome. Because I think the importance of building our school administrators' capacity and building supports, because I know LEAP offers lots of training and capacity building, and I think of the home visitors in particular and the skills they're gaining. I just think of like kind of a district-wide opportunity to kind of build some shared capacity. My next question is these categories, and are these defined by us, or are these defined by the data system that we have to input data into?
Second one.
Perfect. So my wonder would be, and I'm sure you have opportunities to provide feedback, like how do we explicitly define these categories? So as like a family thinking about
Sure.
what's the difference between describing school climate and culture and describing my student being disengaged and somebody's interpretation of what I'm saying into categories. And just thinking about how we use this information to work on those district improvement goals we heard in our last meeting. I think there's so much rich information we're collecting. So I appreciate this effort, and I'm just looking for opportunities to really think about how we hone in on this information to think about how it supports our work. So no expectation for an answer. I thank you for this presentation, and excited to hear more about our attendance successes.
I had a question, and you might not be able to answer it because it might be a Dr. Wiley question. When the Parent Square notification comes to you that your child is absent, so like I have a student at JFK. So when that notification came to me, that was like between like 9 and 10 o'clock.
Correct. Yep.
Is that when all of them go out for all the
of them go out.
schools?
So it's set at a time per the school.
Okay.
So each school has a time that they're sending theirs out.
Okay, because I was just thinking like, it might be beneficial if maybe that, it might not even be possible to send that out sooner, especially like in the case of like kids that might be skipping, that the parent gets alerted well before, another hour into the school day.
There was actually a big discussion on this as we were planning to roll this out. So there are high school. We're trying to get it out early for just the reason that you had mentioned. However, with the number of students that had late arrival, that actually caused a issue. So they ended up having to go into period 2 for the high school to send that out. Similarly at JFK, they're doing the first period attendance early. They're kind of giving enough time in order for it to be fully input before they send it out.
Yeah.
So you don't get the false positives as well,
Right.
which would then could have it where parents stop ignoring it because they.
Right, yeah, and this always comes because, yeah, I gotcha. Okay,
We'd considered it, but that's something we can continue looking at.
yeah, well, cool, thank you. You had more to the presentation?
I just wanted to kind of briefly just kind of show, if I can get out of my PowerPoint. So we have a new system, our EduClimber system. This is kind of our data management. So we've linked it to PowerSchool, and this is where we're beginning to track things like attendance. So for instance, at the bottom, you can see we have a chart here, and it's showing our current chronic absenteeism rate. It always looks really high at the start of the school year, because if a kid misses like 2 days of school, they're going to be chronically absent for a period of time. So right now you can see it's at 19.13 district-wide. That's about 2.13% lower than we were at this day last year, all right, as we go through the school year. What we've done is we've gone through the schools and we've created chronic absenteeism thresholds. And these thresholds, once a student meets it, their individual student profile will be tagged as chronically absent. This is running every day. So if your status changes, you can come in and you can drop off of this status, but it creates a filter function where we can see each of the schools, students, groups, so on. So we can see grades, ethnicity, gender, and school locations, and the number of students who are chronically absent, and they're identified and tagged within the system each day. There's a lot of functionality with this that I can't show in a public meeting because we'd get into student data. But one of the things we can do is we could look at an individual student, So I'm just going to pull up a fictitious one. What's that?
It's just in case.
Just in case. Yeah. All right. So this student is just fictitious. They have perfect attendance. They're a 21-year-old sophomore who's been here for a long time as a test student. But you can see if they were chronically absent, they'd have a tag up top, and it would show up as the number 1, and it'd be able to be filtered by the tag CA. Their attendance is here, right? So the students attended 30 of 30 days, and so on. Let's just say that this student was to suddenly miss 5 days, right? So if I went and clicked on the form, I could go in and I could start an intervention for Justin, right? So I could use our EPS. I'm just going to put test in here for right now and save. So when we come in, if we're having our district attendance meeting, we would start the meeting, and if we're discussing the student, this starts filling it automatically, right? So he's a 10th grade, he's at Enfield High School. We could say the tier that we want to start this at, his age. Now, let's just say that he had 5 unexcused absences. Normally, this would populate, if it was a real student, every absence, every period, every attendance code. If they were tardy 1 minute, it's going to show up in a running list on this record. It'll just auto-populate automatically. If any of these were done or missed, these could be checked. So let's just say there's a 5-day letter. Justin didn't get that 5-day letter. He should have gotten it today. I could click on this and I could say that I could action item, send letter. I can assign that to someone. So I could just say, I'm going to assign that to me to send him the letter, and I want to send that tomorrow. So that's going to be a to-do. I click save. I've been emailed now that I need to send Justin this. It'll show up in my tasks of things that I need to do, and there'll be a calendar with when I need to have done it by. So anything you see on here, any field, parent, guardian, outreach, conference with student, anything that's a checkbox here, I can assign as a task to someone else. So common task during a student attendance meeting is the social worker is going to reach out. The vice principal is going to call. Everyone just assigns it in the meeting on the form here. There's a full record of it along the side. It goes to the person assigned calendar, and it keeps track of it. They get an email notification that they need to do it. So they can continue through. They could assign that. We can then just say what interventions we need to do for the student. This could be anything from adjusted schedule, refer to youth services, or so on. We could then go, and I could assign LEAP, and I could again assign that. I could assign that to myself again. I'm going to be very busy with Justin. Okay, and I could say that you have to contact him for LEAP by the end of the week. Okay, and that's a to-do,
I'm in late.
and I'm going to click Save. This is a running document. It will get updated. It'll keep records of any changes on it, and we could use it for any interventions throughout the year. Right, so this is notes, dates field, when any of these were committed, counselor notes, notes from calls or meetings, interventions that were chosen, if there was a plan or for an IEP or 504 that needs to be adjusted. Case managers can get notified directly from the form. They can complete their pieces. It'll all get updated on here. Everyone knows what's happening. So then working with that, so I'm going to close this. Just to speed things up a little bit, I had created an intervention form for the same thing for Justin for LEAP. I can view this as a printable form. Actually, I can get out of this and show you a different way. If I wanted to, I put it as complete, sorry. If I wanted to create a template for the LEAP intervention, one of the pieces our LEAP home visitors are going to do is, when they complete it, they're going to have their initial contact, whatever day they do it, the members of the team, what date they contacted, the reason for it, a note from it, what the fields were, which you saw for the form. Then there's contacts. It could be as many as they need there. Outcome of the meeting, summary of the parent or guardian contact, and any follow-up that's needed from there. Similarly, if they said that this was a family health issue, they could add someone, tag the nurse or so on to follow up. If it was an issue of unstable housing, right, they can, in the form, add an action item and assign that to someone else or ask someone else to take a look at that. So right in the form, there's a link. Whenever there's an issue, they can connect it back to the appropriate person. It gets assigned there, and there's a record of it, and the person who has been assigned to is getting a notification in an email and in their Launchpad in EduClimber. So if they were looking at their Launchpad, they could see the action items that they have. So if we see here, this one, my case from LEAP, that's still on my to-do list because I just assigned it to myself in the intervention. So instead of having that multiple week delay as we're having conversations about it, everything is going through automatically. And then as they're done, people can change the status in there, and everyone else in the team will then be able to see what the status is of that intervention.
Cool. I have a question.
Sure.
So when you were in that form, and I saw the section where you could like check off reasons or whatever,
Yep.
there was the other category. So I'm assuming that you can pull a report from this. But when you pull a report, can you pull the fields where they would fill in other, and then you could assign it to one of our categories?
So I have other there. I'm debating taking other off.
Gotcha.
So that they have to choose one or reach out. It's still in draft. We're running it out to our district attendance team, this new process. We finished Wednesday of last week, the implementation. So we're rolling it out to the team, and that's still one that we either is, we're on the fence on.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Mr. Ryder?
I just wanted to ask, you don't have to show us again, but is in that form, can you note there that you've confirmed that they do or do not have a sibling, like you were mentioning? Because if,
That's actually a good one. We were hoping to just use the, some of the functionality in the software to see if there's a sibling or not. There's like a way to search for
Oh, okay.
family members.
Because that would pull information from Power School,
Yes.
and you'd be able to, I gotcha.
so if Justin's siblings also
Right.
being absent
So instead
similar
of
days,
having a
times.
system where this people in the school are seeing the students in their school, they can see like across the district, right, to see where the students are. So it'll be easier to identify siblings in this system than just going through individual schools in Power School.
Okay.
I am happy to see this quick snapshot of EduClimber. I'm hoping we get some additional information because I think it's a really important tool for our district to think about how do we use data to do some comprehensive work that we're doing with our district improvement plan. A wonder that I have is, so attendance data we're pulling from Power School, what other data are we pulling into EduClimber?
So we've finished the data validation for attendance, which actually took quite a long time. We're also going to be pulling in behavioral, but we're still needing to link. We used a system of log entries, and we also used data from Swiss. We're still doing the validation. We're making the yearly agree with the predetermined fields in here now. The historical data is a challenge to make match up with new criteria. So that'll be one of the next pieces. So behavioral is going to be next, and that'll be part of the MTSS process for bringing data in. So we're bringing in grades. We're not doing anything with them yet. It's just reporting they're in there. We're bringing in behavior. We're bringing in attendance right now.
And our academic assessments are showed. We're just going to look at.
The academic assessments are going into DNA, which is a companion product of this. And then in there, there's the assessment builder for giving district-wide assessments and so on.
Awesome.
So we're still doing rollout, and we have training for that, one of our third one tomorrow.
Awesome. This is exciting work, and I think a really nice way to see comprehensively our students and be able to design those multi-tiered supports that we're working on. So thank you. I'm excited to learn more.
It is a great system in that you can quickly pull all of the data together and then take a look at them individually.
Go ahead, Ms. Acree.
John, I might have missed this point. Does EduClimber flag a student that
Yeah, that was the threshold. So they become flagged.
to you?
So what we'd see is it makes it searchable. You can also flag individual students that if there's changes, it can alert certain people. We haven't set that up for individual students, but let's just say I made a flag for attendance or a flag for behavior. It automatically applies that tag to a student once they've hit whatever criteria. So let's say there was 3 minors in a week, the behavioral incidents, right? You could have a trigger for that puts a flag on them.
Mr. Gauss?
Mr. Dig, I have a couple quick questions.
Sure.
You mentioned how obviously that averages are affected when you only have 10 days in and 1 day is 10%. Are those absences still being followed up on to prevent a larger problem from
So
happening down the road?
reviewing them during the school-wide attendance team meetings now. When we get to a certain point, they'll get reviewed at the district attendance team. So when they have them, if they're getting parents' note for an illness, and it's just been 2 days in September, that's probably not going to get a follow-up. If a student has 3 unexcused absences in September, that's probably going to get, a follow-up from the school because they're trying to avoid that student getting identified as truant. If you had 4 unexcused absence in a month, then you'd be truant. So there'd be a little bit more follow-up. It depends on what the reason for the absence is, if there's follow-up. Everyone's getting attendance letters once you've hit a certain number of absences for school, and then at a certain point, your absences get reviewed by the school-wide attendance team.
And on a daily basis, when the attendance notification goes out, if we don't receive word back, the secretaries in each of the buildings are calling those parents. So it is a follow-up process. So Parent Square allows that ease of communication, but not everybody actually follows up. So then we make the phone calls so that the conversations can begin. But that happens on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question is the district implementation team, is that large enough to handle what's going on now?
Implementation team? Oh, the LEAP
Yeah,
team?
yes.
No, we're gonna probably post for some additional LEAP mentors fairly soon. We've had a little bit slow rollout on the LEAP program this year. We really haven't rolled out because we've been working on the back end for the data. We want to make sure that our processes are in place so that we can have more timely interventions. It didn't make sense to bring in new people and then change the system, 2 or 3 weeks into the program.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else? Mr. Coburn?
So just a couple more questions. Mr. Dig, I know obviously at the beginning we talked about chronic absenteeism. You talked about the ESSA and like the state guidelines for it and stuff like that. So obviously like performance indicators, that's kind of our bigger focus. And then kind of as you step down is kind of like the attendance. Do we set like, I know you mentioned there's a district attendance team, school attendance teams. Do we set like a district attendance goal, school attendance goal? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, of course we want it to be 100%, but like realistically, do we aim for like 98%, 95? Is it vary by school buildings? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so the goals are set at a school-wide level. So they'll have their goal. Friday is going to be goal setting for the school. So they've all been tasked to take a look at where they were last year on EdSite at their individual schools, and then come with a goal. To
Yeah, like
discuss.
like a realistic looking
Realistic
at trends
goal.
or whatever.
Right, so you're looking at the trends. So they would have got tasked with look at EdSites the last 5 years. What is a reasonable attendance goal for this year? And then based on the individual school goals, we'd set the district goal. However, because we have an ESSA target, there's a certain percent that you have to be realistically declining each year to get there. So our goal from the district-wide is influenced by that. So that's why you saw it at around that 15.4.
Yeah, like you were talking about reducing the chronic absenteeism rate. So obviously the daily, weekly attendance rate is obviously going to have to increase so we could try and negate that. That makes sense. So and this is probably more for like the attendance team, but does the district currently employ, or are we looking at like, I know certain schools and districts, like, if schools are doing well, they get like rewards and stuff like that if they hit their goals. Are those conversations that we're having? Like, if the school hits their goal, I guess, like what's beyond the high five? Like, is there going to be incentives that we're looking to roll out to kind of meet that?
I gotta be honest, I'm mixed on incentives. Like, it's a hard one to say, hey, good job.
Good job coming to school like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And it's, again, this is kind of just to get us thinking about it if we're not already, like.
We've had conversations about incentives, but it's kind of a hard, as where some people might like it, other people are turned off by the incentives for attendance. It's an ongoing conversation, but I don't.
Yeah, so,
Good answer on that.
right now, and especially with the lead team, so like the district's focus is probably more on like just kind of root cause analysis to kind of tackle it.
Yeah, I
Would
think
that
with
be
the
like a fair
LEAP,
assessment?
it's really kind of just helping to make a relationship, so get the students have someone to connect to in the school. You know what I mean? It's a little bit harder to be absent if you know that someone's there looking for you. You know what I mean? Someone's
Yeah.
there to say high five, or give you a high five as you come in, or so on. If you feel like you're noticed at the school, you know what I mean? Hopefully you'll be there more often.
Exactly, and it ties in, I know, like the reasons you're talking about, climate, engagement, and stuff like that, so awesome. So I just kind of, like I said, I'd throw those kind of out there and kind of see where we're at, so thank you.
All right, anybody else? Mr. Day, got anything else for us?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Nice work. Okay, let's move on. Mr. Macchio, Superintendent's Report. First up is?
Yeah, so first up is welcome back. It's this, our student reps are here, and we have our senior alternate is here, Jennifer Vasquez Ramos, and our junior, Chase Menard. So Chase was so gentlemanlike to say, the ladies go first. So there you go.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jennifer, and I am here to share some important reminders and events coming up this year. For important reminders, senior 12th graders superlative nominations are now open. Seniors, don't forget to submit your nominations by this Friday, October the 17th. Nominations will close after 2:05 p.m. An email has been sent to seniors with further details. For parents, parent-student-teacher conferences, the window for parent-teacher conferences has just opened up. Parents can sign up to meet with their child's teachers. The dates for this year's conferences will be Wednesday, October 29th and Thursday, November 13th. A message has been sent to parents and families through Parent Square with further details on how to book a meeting with teachers and the available times. For any AP exam payment orders, any student enrolled in any advanced placement courses, the window for the payment of the exams is now open. Students who have free reduced lunch will receive no paying fee, and if a payment is needed, the deadline for the payments is by Wednesday, November 5th. The payment may be done through Parent Square Pay, money order, cash, or check. And if any student is wishing to take one or more AP exams, they must also complete the registration process and payment by Wednesday, November 5th. A message has also been sent out to parents and families through Parent Square with further details. Now for a survey. An annual Board of Education survey will be given to students this Thursday, the 16th, during their mentoring Eagle Blocks, and the surveys are attended for the Enfield High School students. Now some important events. For Meet the Candidates Night, it will be this Thursday night, the 16th, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. The event will be run by Youth Vote and will be held in the Enfield High School cafeteria. The National Honor Society will have their induction on October the 18th at 6:30 p.m. in the Enfield High School auditorium. And finally, I guess that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Great job.
Chase?
Good evening. So nice to be here and meet all of you. So this past week at Enfield High was really fun. It was personally one of my favorite weeks. It was Spirit Week. So Monday was Adam Sandler Day. Students got to come dressed as their favorite Adam Sandler character. Nice. Tuesday was Country versus Country Club. Students came dressed as either in cowboy boots or hats or country club getup. Wednesday was Y2K. It was a little throwback to the early 2000s wear. And then Thursday was Pink Out for breast cancer awareness, and it was just so cool to see everyone decked out in pink. And then finally, Friday was class colors for the pep rally, and the pep rally was phenomenal. The PE department did a really great job of putting it all together, and even though the seniors technically won, I think the juniors brought the most school spirit, so that's really all that matters.
Side with the seniors.
We also had homecoming this past Thursday. We had 700 students in attendance and over 30 staff volunteers, so thank you to all the staff that came and volunteered their time. We had a great DJ and some awesome food trucks that were just a really nice touch. And then to conclude a great week, football had a game on Friday. Unfortunately, we didn't pull through with a win, but it was still a great time. Now, on a less exciting note, there's PACT testing for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders on October 22nd. Seniors do have the option to have an excused absence if they visit a college that day, and PACT day is a full day, not a half day, unfortunately, and students should bring their fully charged iPads. Also, the class of 2027 has a car wash on Sunday, October 19th from 9 to 2 at Rothfield Road Service Center. So come support the junior class and get your car washed. Lastly, from me, there are now 2 late buses at Enfield High that run on Thursdays at 3:30. Students do need to sign up the day before at their assistant principal's office. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And those late buses were Thursdays only?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Thursdays at the high school and then Wednesdays at the middle school.
Awesome.
Just a few other reminders for me. I did have down Jack-O-Lantern Festival, but we're going to let Kelsey McGuire Bruce speak about that because I believe she signed up for public comment. Just a reminder for everybody who's listening in, the first community conversation regarding the pre-referendum committee is going to be coming up, and that's going to be October 22nd, so next Wednesday. And the theme of that, each session has a different theme. That theme session is about the existing conditions of the buildings. So that's what they'll be focusing on. That's in the JFK Auditorium, and it's from 6 to 7 p.m. There'll be 2 other sessions, one in December and one in February, so I will be sure to continue to update as that goes. I believe I know there's been some Parent Square reminders that have been sent out related to that. I know you heard about the 6 to 12 conferences, but I really want to emphasize, because this is a change in terms of the school calendar. In years past, those were half days for everybody. That is not the case anymore. Only 6 through 12 has a half day, a true half day. With lunch, yes. Everyone else is going to school for the full day. So if you were a pre-K through 5, you get a full day of school. I believe we have a handout for you from Alpha Delta Kappa. That's the Teacher of the Year Committee. As a reminder, they will be having a celebration on the 30th to honor Amy Santinella, our 25-26 Teacher of the Year in the JFK Library. So Mr. Longy is going to be passing that out to you. I've already received our first reminder update regarding the Veterans Day Parade. Just a reminder for everybody that if you wanted to participate, you need to RSVP to them by October 27th. And then lastly, I believe we put some copies for the budget calendar that we've placed out here for, well, the 2 people that don't already have one as part of the ADCO team. But that budget calendar, the budget is currently in the schools. So the schools are building them, creating them. The departments are doing the same. I looked at my calendar earlier today, and that first full week of November, second week of November is just packed with budget preparation meetings where they'll be presenting to the cabinet. With that being said, a reminder for everybody who is not aware, or telling everybody who's not aware, that the part of the upcoming election is the charter revision adoption, whether it's accepted or not. And if it is accepted, that means that our budget from the Board of Education is due at the beginning of February, meaning that we need to have it finalized pretty much by the end of January. So while I know 5 of you this will not affect, for anybody else who's coming onto the Board of Education, you are going to get the proverbial, fire hose of budget as soon as you get onto the board, because we have to get this completed. And the reason for that is the charter revision does have a statement in there about if the overall cumulative town budget is 5% or greater, that it has to go to town referendum. So hence we have to move everything up earlier. And I think that's it for me tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Macchio. Appreciate it. All right, audiences. I don't really need the paper, but who's up for? Okay.
Maureen's still writing.
All right, everybody gets 4 minutes. Kelsey, you're going to get a couple more minutes.
I don't think I'll need it, but I appreciate that. Hopefully I'm quicker than that. Good evening, everyone. I just want to take a moment to share about one of Enfield's favorite fall traditions. I am here tonight as one of 3 directors of the Jack-o'-lantern Festival. The 3 of us, along with our committee of 15-ish, have been working hard planning, and we're very excited that the Jack-o'-lantern Festival is happening this Saturday, October 19th, from 4 to 8 p.m. Don't stress me out, Scott. Mr. Ryder. From 4 to 8 p.m. on the town green. This year marks our 25th anniversary. And to celebrate, we're going to be throwing it back to the year 2000 for your Y2K. But we're going to do it with some special pricing. All children who bring a carved jack-o'-lantern can participate in all of the activities for just $1. So the past, it's been $5, and we are going to throw it back to 2000 with the dollar prices. If you don't bring a carved pumpkin, you can still participate in all of the fun. It will just be $10 for the wristband. So the wristband includes unlimited access to bounce houses, obstacle course, hayride. Parents can, of course, ride the hayride with their children for free. There's trick-or-treat tents and dancing, and I hear a DJ might be there. We really want to light up the night with hundreds of jack-o'-lanterns, so we are encouraging everyone to bring a jack-o'-lantern to display. That's been a struggle for us to get jack-o'-lanterns. Our numbers have been declining, so I am putting a push out there to everyone listening to please, I know it's time-consuming, but it really is a beautiful sight the more jack-o'-lanterns we have. So the festival will have DJ music, dance contest, trick-or-treating tents, face painting. Come ready to join the fun. Costumes are encouraged but not required. We will have food vendors on site. This will be available for purchase. And I just want to take a moment to thank the Board of Education because you continue to support this event. While we are run by a committee, we are backed by our Board of Education and all of you and our schools. So thank you for continuing to do that. We do have some wonderful community partners and sponsors, and we will be calling their names out proudly at our event because we could not do it without them. We are still looking for volunteers. We'll always take help, especially we are in need of some setup that morning. So National Honor Society friends, we could use you 10 to 12 if you want to come visit. You can find out more details on our Facebook page, Enfield Jack-o'-lantern Festival. We are pushing out information daily, and we're looking forward to another great year. So we hope to see everyone there.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a feeling you're going to be the DJ.
I am.
I have
Again.
that feeling. All right, Maureen. Maureen Griffin, you're up.
I'll be there around 3.
Hello, Maureen Griffin, Mom. First off, welcome to the student reps. Remember, you're the experts on how decisions made here impact the schools. So please speak freely about it and honestly. Don't hold back. Don't just talk about the events happening. Talk about life in the halls. Regarding the attendance report, the numbers for school climate are not that high, but don't take that to mean that things are great there. Progress is being made, but there's still work to do. Keep meeting with those students. Early voting starts Monday at Town Hall. Everyone should, if you can't get to your polling station on actual election day, go to Town Hall any day between the 20th and forward. Speaking of the election, let's talk about what's happened in the past 2 years since the last one. 5th grade chorus, orchestra and band, gone. JFK and freshman sports, gone. Only revived through outside fundraising, not from funding from the town council. High school career center, gone. Dozens of courses, gone. And so many human assets lost. Other districts have gotten great people because we let them go. My kids have all been impacted by these cuts. Career Center, my son was a senior last year. Could have really used that. My girls are both in high school right now. Their course options are not what they used to be. And the idea of being able to take all 8, it's not as easy as it used to be. Because Eagle Hour, what little of it was left is no longer because there's not the staff. Staff that's there is doing bathroom duty instead of being available for the kids. And my two oldest, one of the beautiful things is they are both old enough to vote in this election. And one of my children sat at the town council meeting, spoke her piece, and then was basically told through insinuation or directly from people on the dais over the next few meetings that she did not know what she was talking about. She was told what to say. Oh, if you've met my daughter, apple doesn't fall far. No one told her what to say. Let me tell you, looking very forward to remembering her promise that the students will remember who voted to support their needs, who voted not to. So I invite every student who is eligible to vote, let your voice be heard. And your families, do the same, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. All right. Okay, next up, board member comments. Who would like to go first tonight? Mr. Cover?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So happy October to everybody. While I already mentioned a lot of what was happening this month during our last regular meeting, in partnership with our town IT department, I do want to remind everybody that October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a reminder that all organizations are vulnerable to ever-evolving online threats. On this note, we are asking everybody to complete the back-to-school technology checklist, including reviewing the handbook and acknowledging the loss, damage payment, or waiver form by our deadline of tomorrow, Wednesday, October 15th. Thanks to the Columbus Day holiday yesterday, I hope everybody enjoyed the long weekend. More than just a historical commemoration of a voyage across the Atlantic back in 1492, let us not forget its broader significance, one that honors the spirit of exploration and discovery, the universal human desire to explore the unknown, the meeting of cultures and the rise that is often called the Columbian Exchange between the Eastern and Western hemispheres, and the traditions, cultural heritage, and contributions of Italian Americans. It may also be hard to comprehend, but in a few short weeks, fall parent-teacher conferences will be underway. Our high school seniors should start planning for pathways after graduation and consider early action applications for colleges and universities. It's never too early to start looking at scholarships and other financial aid that may be available. Don't wait until it's too late. Welcome to our new and returning student representatives. I look forward to having you seated with us and hope you find this experience worthwhile. As a public service announcement, since our municipal elections are forthcoming, and as mentioned during our student rep update, the Enfield High School and the Enfield Youth Vote will be hosting a Meet the Candidates night this Thursday, October 16th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. This event is open to the public and light refreshments will be served. What a better way to learn about civics and stay informed. As was also mentioned, early voting does begin on October 20th, with the general election day itself being November 4th. As our citizens will come out to elect the next round of leaders for Enfield, I will leave off with my customary quote for the night. It is a responsibility of leadership to work intelligently with what is given and not waste time fantasizing about a world of flawless people and perfect choices. By Marcus Aurelius, Roman Emperor.
Thank you, Mr. Cover. Mrs. Pickett?
All right, so yesterday we honored Indigenous Peoples Day, an opportunity to reflect. Sometimes rituals, routines, and traditions need to be critically examined. The greatness of America is that we are on a quest to form a more perfect union. This gives us permission to adjust course, acknowledge mistakes, and improve. I'm proud to be American and disappointed in some of the actions that took place to get us here. And I believe that that's okay to say. Actually, I think it's what's needed. Acknowledging truth and doing better. For those interested in learning more about the native land that we now call home here in Enfield, there's some great resources online. You can find that at native-land.ca. I'd also like to remind folks that the colder months are coming. There are many families in need in our community, and there are limited and impacted services for them. I encourage folks to please consider supporting our local nonprofits and warming shelter. Excited to hear about the Jack-O-Lantern Festival. That is a event that I think my family has attended every single year and really missed during the COVID times. So you will see us there on the 18th. Meet the Candidates is my favorite campaign event. I'm hoping students, families come out 6:30 to 8 on the 16th at the high school. along with the pre-ref work. I'm sure we'll hear an update of that later, but there's a lot of work being done. We need family input, so I encourage folks to come to JFK on the 22nd to hear more for that as well. And I'm going to end my comments with the student reps. So excited to see you guys here. I hope to see you back. Again, I'm going to mirror Maureen's comments around the importance of having youth perspective up here, shaping our decision making, and encourage you to be part of our discussion. So thanks and welcome.
Dr. Callan, I saw your hand.
So Jean Eckery will shortly discuss what the Mental Health Committee has accomplished over the last couple of years, but I just wanted to say a few words about the mental health challenges our school community continues to face, because this will probably be my last opportunity to do so as a board member. I've mentioned the landmark ACEs study at previous board meetings, but I just wanted to underscore a few key points. The ACEs study provided us a way of scoring the severity of childhood trauma, a score of 0 corresponding to no trauma exposure, and a maximum score of 10 corresponding to severe 10 severe types of traumatic episodes. One of the most notable findings is that serious childhood trauma is not at all uncommon. For example, more than 1 out of 4 children are victims of physical abuse, and a little less than 1 out of 4 are victims of sexual abuse. These statistics are consistent with studies that were done subsequent to the ACEs study. There's a terrific book out that has been on the New York Times bestseller list for several months now called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And here is one pertinent quote, just one. The effects, quote, "The effects of childhood trauma first become evident in school. More than half of those with ACEs score of 4 or higher reported having learning or behavioral problems, compared with 3% of those with a score of 0. So we know a significant proportion of our high-need students fall into this category of highly traumatized children. And unless they are involved in some form of trauma-informed therapy, the likelihood of succeeding in school is small. We have to continue trying to address the social emotional needs of our children. We need more clinicians, and we need a school-based health center. But unfortunately, that will take time and money. In the meantime, there are other things that we can do. And in fact, there are things that are already being done, as Jean will mention a little bit later. At our last board meeting only 2 weeks ago, Mr. Longi discussed our restorative education initiative, which is a very encouraging development. We should also be thinking about less orthodox, financially feasible approaches to preventing and managing trauma apart from therapy. That book that I mentioned, van der Kolk, mentions 3 such interventions, all of which are now supported by a significant evidence base. I know this sounds a little bit, unorthodox, but the 3 interventions are, number 1, yoga, secondly, meditation, and thirdly, athletics. Perhaps we can find a way of making yoga and meditation extracurricular activities. And of course, we should try to restore our athletic programs to what it used to be, although we should continue to prioritize academics. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Callan. Anybody else? Jean? Ms. Acree, sorry.
I second that, Dr. Kalnick. On October 2nd, I attended the Tri-M Music Honor Society induction, and I would like to congratulate all of the inductees on this musical accomplishment. My hope for these students that this is the start of an incredible journey that will demonstrate their musical talents and skills and creativity. that will lead them to an even bigger adventure in the music field. I also attended an interesting mini workshop for parents at Prudence Crandall, featuring author Megan Dowd Lambert. She is the creator of the Whole Book Approach Storytime model. She believes in bringing an interactive spirit to storytime with the young children by letting children set the pace during the read aloud with questions and comments and observations that they see in the story, in the artwork, and in the design of the book. Thank you. I just wanted to report on that.
Thank you, Ms. Acree. Mr. Gauss, did you have your hand?
I did, and I don't have a whole lot to say. I just wanted to welcome Jennifer and Chase to the dais. I hope it's a good adventure for you guys, like it was last year. And I agree with a lot of the things that Mr. Kober said, but I would like to add that cybersecurity, it's just not a matter of if you're going to have a problem, it's just a matter of when. So it's absolutely important to be careful with your data. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kober. I mean, not Mr. Kober, Mr. Gauss. Mr. Ryder?
I just wanted to thank Superintendent Macchio and acknowledge that recently he served his first year anniversary here at Enfield Public Schools.
Hey.
So we wanted to acknowledge that. And I also want to thank Mr. Longi for his leadership. We started the same year you took that position that summer. I joined you up here a couple months later, and it's been a great ride. And I wanted to thank you very much for all you've done for our students. You don't get enough credit for a lot of what you do behind the scenes, and I wanted to thank you, Mr. Longi. So that was it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. LeBlanc?
I was just going to say that October is National Book Month, and I've been trying to get away from the electronics and more or less focus on things that relax your brain a little bit and to help with mental health. So I challenge everyone, if you enjoy reading, make it a goal to try and read a book or books by Halloween. If you're younger, there's many fun Halloween books to go out and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Anybody else? Okay. Well, welcome to our student reps up here. It's nice to see an alternate come, and Chase, it's nice to meet you finally. And I'm not going to say anything else because I'm tired. And well, no, I am going to say one more thing. I just really wanted to thank our board leadership team and Dean because we have had a lot of work that we've been doing this year, and there's a lot of late nights, last night being one of the very latest nights I think we've ever been around. We were here, well, not here, but over at central office until 2:30 in the morning. And I just wanted to thank you guys for putting the extra work and time in because the work that we do does matter. And I just wanted to thank you because I know that's a lot of time away from families and things like that. So thank you.
Ditto.
All right. Unfinished business. We don't have any new business. I think that Ms. Brown is going to come up, and we're going to talk about the teacher and administrator evaluation plan for an amendment.
Yep, some quick amendments that Ms. Brown's going to take us through on behalf of Ms. Middleton.
Okay.
Good evening. So 2 years ago, the Professional Learning and Evaluation Committee came here with a completely new manual for the educators, and we had just adopted the state manual for the administrators. Last year, we spent some time really looking at the administrators' manual and making sure that we had it aligned to the educator manual. And anyone that falls under the teacher contract is considered under that educator manual. One of the big spots that we looked was that we did not have things aligned when it came to when we were having our meetings. So you can see here on the chart, we had what the leader, so that's your administrators, what the previous dates were, the updated, and then those really align with the educator. The only thing that is a little different, and we kept it this way, is our June 30th meeting for administrators, because a lot of our goals were really based on teacher goals. So this way we're able to meet after the school year and be able to finish up our own goals with our evaluators. Another piece of information that we wanted to make sure that was in the administrator's manual was our appeal resolution language that we kept from our previous manual that we had before all of the changes that came from the state. We spent a lot of time, and it's a really comprehensive procedure, so we wanted to make sure that not only was it in there for the educator manual, but also for our administrators. And anyone that has to observe an administrator will say that previously it was so cumbersome. There's 10 standards that we use, and within that there were 82 indicators. So if you were going to observe an administrator, it was just a lot. So we condensed that to 52. So it's still a lot of indicators that we're using, but we just condensed it and reduced to really make sure that we're streamlined and we're more efficient in the evaluation process. So 34% if you needed to know the difference. So we reduced it by 34, but still 54 indicators is a lot within those 10 standards. So really, we're just trying to make things more efficient and manageable, and it's a single competency rubric, so it really allows a lot of feedback that we're writing. So before it was, you were marking if someone was a 4, 3, 2, or a 1, and the language was right there. Now we're looking at really putting in our own language when we're giving that feedback. So having less indicators to have to write about definitely helps save some time. So the 3 updates that we made was just the alignment with our dates, having that appeal resolution language put into the manual, and then revising the single point competency rubric. And that is all I had, unless you have some questions.
Anybody have any questions? I just had one question. And you probably explained this way back when we had the presentation of how this was all going to work. Can you refresh my memory on what, because I saw on the date alignment page, we have 2 cohorts.
Yes. So with our, and I'll go back. So with teachers, we actually have 3 cohorts. Years 1 through 3 are in cohort 1, 4 through, I want to say 9 is cohort 2, and then anyone over that. And it's how many years of service in Enfield. So you might have a teacher that comes in and has had 20 years of experience in Connecticut at another district. We'll start them off on cohort 1, and then if they show that growth that we want to see, we will move them to a different cohort and honor those years, but everyone starts at 1, being in the educators, under the educator's manual. For administrators, we only have 2 cohorts, so that's a little bit of a difference.
Right.
But it's still a due date of June 30th, so I didn't include.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Pickett.
I'm glad you brought us to this slide. I'm okay with these changes. A wonder of mine, though, and a consideration is I think it could be helpful to have the leader dates after the educator date, so the person has some reflection on what their educator meetings were like and how their educators are meeting their goals to bring into their leader conversation. So just a wonder and consideration about how that information flows and adjust practice as well.
Anybody else? Okay, so we need a motion to approve the teacher and administrator evaluation plan as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ryder, second by Ms. Pickett. Discussion. Sensing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Dr. Calnan?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Gauss?
Yes.
Mr. Kober?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley?
Yes. All right, motion passes, thank you. All right, moving on to policy revisions. Mrs. Cushman, first reading transportation policy, 3541.
For policy 3541, transportation, the current policy number is maintained. The title and some of the text has been changed. The recommended updates align this policy with the proposed consolidation of our elementary schools, reduce the student walking distance to school buildings and bus stops, and established distance limit maps to be reviewed annually and shared on the district website 3 weeks prior to the first day of school. Those are the significant changes to it. I'd like to make a motion to approve the first reading of policy 3541, transportation.
Motion made by Ms. Cushman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ryder. Discussion. Mr. Cover.
So I hope to seeing this policy come through from the subcommittee to the full board for a review is just kind of testimony to the responsiveness of the current board. Given recent changes with bus routes, public dialogue, I hope we can continue evaluating this policy and updating it as needed. So definitely in favor of the changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cover. Mrs. Pickett?
I'm excited, too, that the policy subcommittee has discussed this so quickly and is taking some action, but I do have some continued wonders and concerns, and so I'm not sure if I'm ready to vote a full yes on this yet. So one thing I have that's come up to me from families is around sibling riders. So we have quite a few families due to our school model that are split between schools, and so I might have a walker to one school and a rider to another. Which makes it really inconvenient when an older sibling might be providing the childcare, but they're on a bus that doesn't get home until after the younger siblings. So my wonder is, I don't see that addressed in the policy, so can somebody share, is that addressed and I missed it? Or is that discussion that was had?
It was something that was discussed in policy, and if I remember correctly, it would, if allowed, when there is a sister school, if one sibling is outside of that walkable distance and takes the bus and the other isn't, it would significantly increase the ridership. So the decision that the district has made is just to keep it consistent with the distances that are established in the policy.
Thank you, that's helpful. I appreciate the notice of the timeline in section 3. So families, there is an added piece around notification of bus routes and things like that. I'm interested in how we adjusted in section 4. Bus stops have to be within a half a mile, yet walkers are still expected to walk quite a significantly different mileage. So I'm just wondering kind of what went into that decision. And I know we did make adjustments to walker distance, but just a wonder around that.
I don't know if you want to speak to it, but I mean, it just, yeah.
So with that, John.
Mr. Daigle, yeah.
We'll hear you, but the audience won't.
Yes, that was discussed, and it was a function of total time. So if a student is riding the bus, if we have them walking the same distance, the amount of time that they could spend walking to a bus stop and then riding the bus would be greater than walking to school.
Thank you. You might want to stick around for a few more questions. In section 5(2)AII, where it outlines if there's no sidewalks for K-5 walkers, and it says that the speed limit can be up to 30 miles an hour on a road for K-5 walkers with no sidewalk. So I'm going to say I'm one of these parents where I live on a road with 30 mile an hour street. And my kids are walkers, and my street is a walker to JFK and Parkman. And I think this connects to a larger community conversation because how we determine the speeds on roads is an interesting calculation. So because of the length of our street, even though we are a neighborhood community, I'm looking at Janet because we live 2 houses away from each other, a neighborhood community, we have a long road, so it's a high speed with no sidewalks. Yet the majority of the other walker neighborhoods to, for example, Parkman, I'll use, that's where my kids are walking, have sidewalks. So Edgewood, all of the other side of Steele. So my guess is Guild Street is not the only 30 mile an hour road that has walkers on it. That is not a safe road for kids to walk on. And it's not just Guild. My students' entire walk to school is without sidewalks. So I just think that is a high speed to determine that it's safe for students to be walking with no sidewalks, with significant walkership, especially in a neighborhood that has two schools feeding into it. So I don't expect to have an answer on this, but I'm going to be very concerned with a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on that. My direct question is in section 5(2)BI, where we outline the hazards that would allow for changes. It talks about removal of snow and maintaining roadways. My students take a back path to school. Are those cleared and maintained during the winter? And if not, that adds a significant portion of walking distance. So how does that get figured in?
So walking distance doesn't include the paths. It's going to be just along major roadways. So when we do the new maps, it calculates the fastest roadway distance to the school and determining whether a walker or not. So this will result in some areas of Crandall that could be walked to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Students will get ridership because there's a path through. That's not calculated into the map, so it's roadway distance for calculating walking distance.
It's walking
Path.
but distance as if you were driving.
Right. So I
Correct.
just say significantly that changes my own students' path to school, a whole nother street they have to walk with no sidewalk versus a back path to the entrance of their school safely. So do we know if those pathways are cleared during the winter or not?
I would have to look into that.
I think. I know the one at Crandall is, but I don't know. I've not been over to Parkman with the snow on the ground.
All right. And then my last piece is around section 6.2 around special ed accommodations. I know that we have special accommodations written into IEPs for students to receive specialized services. But can students with IEPs get accommodations to have different bus stops so they don't need a specialized bus?
We have made accommodations for 504 students to have a change in stop.
Okay. I'm just going to share, for the reasons of some of my questions and concerns, I would like to make a motion to table to have further discussion on some of these matters. So I'm going to make a motion to table.
Anybody?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to table the policy made by Ms. Pickett and seconded by Ms. LeBlanc. So then I would need a show of hands in favor to table transportation policy. 1, 2, 3, 3 in favor. How many are against? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against.
Just our little cheat sheet over here.
That's a table's a roll
Table is a roll call.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. All right, Leslie, roll call, please. Sorry about that.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mrs. Ickery.
No.
Dr. Callen.
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman.
No.
Mr. Gauss.
No.
Mrs. Pickett.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
No.
Chairwoman Riley.
No. Okay. All right, so we're still in discussion.
Okay.
So, yep, so 5 noes, 4 yes.
Mr. Recording Secretary, you left me off of that.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I skip you? Oh, Mr. Coburn.
No.
5 noes, 4 yeses.
Okay. All right. So still under discussion on approving it, Mr. Ryder?
So I know that there's things in here that we could possibly tweak and discuss further, but we do need to make some of these changes based on everything that's gone on the first 6-8 weeks of school. But yes, you do have legitimate questions, and I would suggest that whoever is on policy come December X.
November 18th.
No, we're not doing a November.
Oh, you're right, December policy.
Yeah,
meeting. You're
the
good.
next December policy meeting. But I also wouldn't wait until then to raise any of these questions. I would email the superintendent, and then he can get with Mr. Degg, because there are certain pieces of this that we do need to implement, because it's important for the software that we're using now and for the paths that we're using to get to our schools. And although it can be tweaked, it can always be tweaked and can always be brought up again, but I do think we need to push this through.
And I'll follow up with, I don't know, I guess maybe the facilities manager now that we have a new one to see if they plan on.
About those paths, yeah.
On plowing the paths or whatever they're going to do. Ms. LeBlanc.
Mr. Ryder, I just appreciate that explanation regarding why we should go ahead and approve this tonight so we can mitigate some of the initial concerns that we had at the beginning of the school year.
Mr. Gauss?
How'd you know I wanted to talk?
Because I saw it. I'm on peripheral vision. We got this.
So, yeah, I would agree with Mr. Ryder about that. I mean, nothing will ever be completely perfect, and I think the administration has already shown how flexible they are when it comes to making necessary adjustments. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Roll call, please. To approve the first reading of the transportation policy.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mrs. McCray.
Yes.
Dr. Calnan.
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman.
Yes.
Mr. Gauss.
Yes.
Mr. Kober.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett.
No.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes. Okay. All right, so part 2
Thanks again, John.
is, thank you, Mr. Digg, is renumber policy 0521. Ms. Cushman.
The policy committee began to review the current zero series policies as part of the shift from the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education Policy Manual to the Shipman and Goodman Policy Manual. Since no comparable series exists in the Shipman Policy Manual, the committee has discussed a variety of means to eliminate this series through renumbering, repeal, and adopting new policies. The body of Policy 0521, Non-Discrimination Policy and Notice, is recommended at this time to be moved in its entirety to the 1000 series and be renumbered to Policy 1521. I'd like to make a motion to renumber and rename Policy 0521, Non-Discrimination Policy and Notice, to Policy 1521, Non-Discrimination.
Motion made by Mrs. Cushman,
Second.
second by Mr. Ryder. Discussion.
So I'll just add, so this is basically a clerical change only without any substantive policy changes, as our committee chair mentioned. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mrs. McCray.
Yes.
Dr. Calnan.
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman.
Yes.
Mr. Gauss.
Yes.
Mr. Kober.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, number 3, Ms. Cushman.
And I'd like to make a motion to table the elimination of the remaining policies in the zero series, Policy 0000, Policy 0050.1, Policy 0100, Policy 0200, Policy 0300, Policy 0521.2, and 0523, until the Policy Committee has adopted the Shipman 4000 and 5000 series non-discrimination policies. That way, all new policies will be in place before this series is repealed.
All right, motion made by Mrs. Cushman,
Second to table.
second by Mr. Ryder. Discussion on this to table.
So technically in a motion to table, there's no discussion.
Oh, okay, all right. So then, roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mrs. McCray.
Yes.
Dr. Calnan.
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman.
Yes.
Mr. Gauss.
Yes.
Mr. Kober.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett.
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, moving on to board committee reports. Ms. Acree, Curriculum Committee.
Yes, the next meeting is scheduled for October 23rd.
All right, Mr. Kober, Finance and Budget Committee.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So, kind of a lot to report on tonight. Finance and Budget Committee last met on October 6th. Approval on accounts payroll for the month of September will be addressed later during agenda item 15. Summary of our current FY26 budget is as follows. The final revised appropriation amount is $79,098,023. Our net expenditures year-to-date is $14,042,766.39. Estimated total expenses for this year, inclusive of revenues, is looking at $76,539,435.77. As of this report, the projected unexpected funds for the current year would be $2,591,587.20. We do note this is predominantly driven by 19 vacant positions across the district where funds have been budgeted but not yet encumbered. Being so early in the fiscal year, we do caution that this number will shift significantly. A summary of FY26 grants is as follows. District applied for a total of $3,529,173. To date, we have been awarded $3,483,581. Available funds are presently $2,831,753. We still are tracking previous year open grants. So for FY25, we still have $447,457 in available funds. And this is due to multi-year grants, several which will remain open till June 30th of 2026. Due to multi-year grants, we're also tracking some open grant lines from FY24, where we still have $206,146 in available funds. Related to grants, I will note that the specific line item, and this is actually in our FY24 summary, is what's called the Magnet Schools Assistant MSAP grant. Our EPS provides services through PK STEAM Academy with funding and takes part in a consortium with CREC, who fiscally manages the grant. There are some concerns that this grant may not be funded by the federal government relating to various guidance and conflict with executive orders, and CREC is working through the CT Office of Civil Rights, OCR, for assistance in the matter. So there's more to follow on that specific grant. During the last subcommittee meeting, we had a presentation from a financial advisor from Wolf Financial Group, and they met with us regarding our district investment portfolio with them. This portfolio is the district's Talented and Gifted Fund account, also known as a TAG account. Our advisor reviewed funds in the portfolio, recommended swapping out one specific fund as it had some underperformance relative to its peers and benchmarks. Committee members did ask for options for comparison if we were to approve this. Additional information was sent out to the Finance Committee on October 8th. I'm not sure if everyone in the Finance Committee had a chance to look at that. It related to our current shares, and we were given two options that we could swap that out. If we were to move those funds, there are no fees and taxes. So I don't know if any members of the Finance Committee had any comments on that, but we are looking for a consensus, so we can go ahead and direct the swapping of that specific fund. I don't know if anyone else from Finance had any comments on that.
I read the ones that the representative from Wolf sent over. I was just curious about how they performed and, you know, what they were. And the recommendation that she made for the iShares, it's fine. We actually already have other investments with that particular iShares. So after reading all the options, and I'm okay with that. But I don't have a vote on that committee. but I read them all, so I appreciate that she sent them.
Yeah, and I think it was the specific one that wanted to be swapped out. She gave us the two options, iShares and Janus, and she gave us kind of the performance indicators on both. So again, they were presented as options, with her preferred option would be moving to iShares. So I don't know, from the Finance Committee, that seemed like a reasonable move to me. So if there's no objection, I think we'll go ahead, let her know there's consensus on that move.
I just had a question, Phil. So you said her recommendation, you're saying this is the consultant from
Wolf Financial, correct. Correct. Yeah, so our portfolio, we have, just say, approximately a dozen different things where money's invested, and out of those dozen, one of them is definitely underperforming relative. So she said, why don't we take the money out of this? It's approximately $150,000 and just move it into a different fund. So, and I'm not sure if that went out to everybody or just Finance Committee. Just Finance Committee. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say it's unfamiliar to me. But.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll make sure when we respond, we'll have the superintendent included in his weekly update. So if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and take care of that.
Just for my clarification, I'll send out the one that the Finance Committee has consensus on moving forward to.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. So continuing on the report, and basically the end, so due to the upcoming municipal election, the committee canceled our regular meeting, which was scheduled for November, which actually would have been held on Election Day. We did agree that if there is a need, we will call a special meeting before the end of the current term, which is November 18th. Unmitigated, the next meeting of the subcommittee is scheduled for Monday, December 1st, which will be at 5 p.m. at BOE Central Office. So that will conclude my report, pending any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cover. Pretty thorough. All right, Policy Committee, Ms. Cushman.
Well, much that was discussed in our last Policy Committee meeting on the 30th of September was what we voted on. The October policy meeting will be canceled as there would be no opportunity to complete any additional policy readings prior to the upcoming election on November 4th. So our next Policy Committee meeting will be in December.
Thank you, Ms. Cushman. Leadership Committee, we met last Wednesday. Yeah, with Mr. Longy. And because Superintendent was on his conference in Seattle. We talked about the agendas. We talked about the November 18th meeting. It's going to have a start time of 6 for everybody's new sign. Yes, for the newly elected board, yep, to be sworn in that evening. We talked about the teacher's contract. We talked about the agendas and the budget, and that's about it. All right, liaison reports, school reports and updates. Who'd like to go? Mr. Cover.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll begin with my usual shout out to the Henry Barnard Friends and Family. Our building participated in the district-wide Pink Out Day, which was held last Friday, October 10th, and we collected voluntary donations for breast cancer survivors and research. Due to the holiday yesterday and Professional Learning Day today, students will have a short week this week, 3-day week. Picture Day is scheduled for the morning of Wednesday, October 29th. As the superintendent mentioned in his update, I should note there were some questions from parents and staff regarding if Barnard had an early release on this day. The district calendar is an early release only for JFK and EHS for conferences, so there's no change for PK through 5. So all our big cats do have a full regular day of school. For Halloween, Friday, October 31st, many classrooms will be participating in end-of-the-day costume celebrations. We ask the parents take notes of all restrictions in costumes and related attire. Keep in mind, things should remain school and age appropriate, and we hope everyone still has fun partaking. Please keep an eye out for the weekly Big Cat Courier newsletter published on Fridays for all your other school-specific updates. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Cover. Mr. Ryder.
I have an homage to Miss Acree. From the desk of Mrs. Flanagan and Mr. LaMesa, if you saw the most recent Parent Square update, some of this is repetitive, but there's also some new news here that I wanted to share from the building. If there's a Spirit Wear sale going on right now, as well as Best Buddy shirts that are on sale. The Enfield PTO, again, is looking for volunteers. Their next meeting is going to be at the Eli Whitney Library on October 20th at 6 p.m. And if you'd like to reach out to the PTO, it's ewpto@yahoo.com. Also, a variety of things are included in Friday's update as far as the hot lunch menus for October. We have a Wolf Walk and Halloween activities happening on October 31st. As Mr. Colbert said about Eli Whitney, there are similar restrictions on costumes and things we can and can't wear, so please check your Parent Square updates for that. I also wanted to take a moment to congratulate the Kid Governor winner from Eli Whitney, who will go on to represent Eli Whitney against the other 3-5 schools. His name is Ben Grimsley, so congratulations to Ben. Hopefully we'll see you up here soon. Also on October 23rd, we'll have Fall Picture Day. And on October 28th, there'll be a trunk or treat event, which includes Eli Whitney families as well as Hazardville Memorial School families. The trunk or treat will happen on the property of Eli Whitney, but Hazardville Memorial families, again, are included. And that'll be from 5:30 to 7:30, again, on October 28th. And that's all we have from Eli Whitney. Go Wolves.
Anything else? Ms. Acree?
To the board and Mr. Ryder, from the desk of Andrew DePere at Prudence Crandall. Our annual food drive has officially launched, and we're already off to a great start. If students donate 4,000 pounds of food, Mr. Dupere will shave his head at the November assembly.
Wow.
Just for clarification, how much was the pound?
4,000.
4,000.
Can we
So 2
contribute?
tons.
We will be happy.
So I'm going to get a lot of potatoes.
After just 1 week, we've collected 1,000 pounds. Let's keep the momentum going and fill the food boat so we can break out the clippers. Pink Out was a smashing success. Thank you all for your generosity and support. Together, we painted the day pink and proudly showed our commitment to raising awareness and supporting those affected. Be on the lookout tomorrow night for a post on Parent Square directly from your child's teacher with information on how to sign up for parent-teacher conferences.
Thank you, Ms. Acree. Anybody else? Okay, so from the desk of Dr. Fitz over at Hazardville, Mr. Daigle would be happy. She said, as we move into October, our school is closely monitoring student attendance. Please see the Husky Howl for our weekly attendance tracker, tips, and updates. Spirit Week is October 27th to the 31st. It includes themed dress-up days and community events like the Spirit Run PTO fundraiser and the Trunk or Treat combined with Eli Whitney. The Spirit Run is October 27th during the school day. Trunk or Treat is October 28th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Eli Whitney. Spirit Week daily themes are posted in the Husky Howl. Participation is optional, and families are encouraged to use budget-friendly or homemade options. Safety guidelines for the costumes have been shared with families to ensure a safe and inclusive experience. Parent-teacher signups start tomorrow at 6 p.m. via Parent Square. It's a new process, and all signups for conferences will take place on the Parent Square. Picture retakes November 5th, and parent-teacher conferences on November 12th and the 20th are early release days for them. And just a reminder, Parent Square is the district's communication tool primarily, and families are encouraged to download the app to stay informed. Anybody else for a school board? No, okay. Joint Facilities Committee.
The next scheduled meeting, as far as I know, is December 11th.
Yes, and we met last Thursday.
Yes.
And we talked about the roofs in the pipeline, where they are. Parkman's up next. We had to send some information back to the state. We also met, well, we didn't meet there, but we have a new facilities manager. He just started, so welcome to Enfield. We also talked about some repairs needed to be done with the school. So hopefully the facilities manager, he's going to be able to now take the burden off of the deputy, what do they call him, deputy? Mr. Wykander, I don't remember his title. He's the assistant, yeah. Anyways, he's gonna help him, and we're gonna get back on the whole schedule of maintenance and everything, so that'll be good. So Joint Insurance Committee, we haven't had anything. Joint Security,
We met last Friday, I should say, and then our next scheduled meeting is December 12th.
yes. All right, and Ms. Acree and Dr. Callanan, you have a final report for us for the Mental Health Committee.
Per Board Policy 9133, the Mental Health Committee has prepared a final report for the full board to review. In July of 2023, the committee met with Melissa Thibault, the Community Health Center Coordinator for School-Based Health Centers, and Yvette Highsmith-Francis, the Northern Connecticut Community Health Center Vice President, to discuss the feasibility of expanding the Enfield School-Based Health Center to better address the mental health needs of Enfield students. This was followed up with communications and conversations with the following: the president of the Connecticut Association of School-Based Health Centers. The meeting occurred at the Connecticut State Capitol. The Connecticut chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics Mental Health Committee, and state legislatures and the Enfield Board of Education. We also created a mission statement and charge of the subcommittee, presented this document to the entire Board of Ed on November 28th back in 2023, which was voted on and approved to create the subcommittee. Dr. Kalman will now read the mission statement.
Thank you, Jean. The charges of the Mental Health Committee is to identify and address mental health challenges involving students and staff, and to provide the necessary intervention to address these concerns, either in-house or by means of an outside referral. The Mental Health Committee will consider the use of screening to identify children at risk of mental health problems, identify opportunities for expansion of mental health services with the school system, enhance mental health programs and initiatives already present in the school system, explore opportunities for expansion of social services to address adverse social determinants of health, key contributors to mental health problems, collaborate with community resources to address the mental health needs of our students, investigate expansion of the school-based health center to increase access to care, offer assistance and support to any member of the staff related to mental health concerns, and finally, engage families and the community at large in ongoing conversations related to mental health care. That's it.
First, we created a mental health survey for all district-level administrators in January of 2024. All surveys were distributed to all principals at each level during the end of January and into the first 2 weeks of February. Then the committee met with elementary principals in March of 2024 to review the survey results, ask questions, and gain further information. In March of 2024, the committee reviewed the data results and created a summary and conclusion document to guide the committee's work. In April 18th of 2024, the Mental Health Committee met with Ms. Carroll, Director of Special Ed, and David White, School Counseling Coordinator, who provided an update about the trauma-informed professional development that was being offered to the Enfield Public School staff. This work is in collaboration with Dr. Perry from CREC. The committee was informed that this work will continue into the 24-25 school year. In the spring of 2024, the Mental Health Committee worked with KITE to organize a dinner for local pediatricians and their staff. So on July 2nd of 2024, the Mental Health Committee members had a meeting with the staff at Stowe to begin planning for this pediatric dinner. In July of 2024, members of the Mental Health Committee visited local pediatricians to invite them to the pediatrician dinner. And the dinner took place on July 25th, and the pediatrician dinner was held at Grassmere Country Club. The outcome of this dinner was to expand pediatrician partnerships with the Enfield Public Schools, extend invitations to pediatric representatives to sit on committees such as Head Start and KITE in mental health, increase communication around referrals and the needs of students across the district. Then in October 30th of last year, the Mental Health Committee met with Ms. Carroll and David White again, who provided an update about the trauma-informed professional development that was being offered to the Enfield Public School staff. In December of last year, the Mental Health Committee met with Amy Morales and Aaron Grimes, who provided a presentation about a program titled Circle of Security. The Mental Health Committee invited Amy Morales and Aaron Grimes to present to the entire Board of Education regarding Circle of Security. They accepted the invitation, and on March 11th, 2025, they gave a presentation to the entire Board of Education. May 7th of 2025, the Mental Health Committee invited Alina Joseph from the Village to present and discuss another program titled Child First. The committee also invited David White and the 3 primary elementary principals to attend this meeting to gain knowledge of this valuable resource for students and families. The Mental Health and Wellness Committee attended several advocacy events. The School-Based Healthcare Advocacy Day, and this was held at the Capitol in Hartford, and we were trying to seek additional information and connections and financial resources. We've attended Infield Together Coalition events to develop strategies also for collecting data. We also attended another Infield Together Coalition kickoff program that looked at the importance of staying connected and the dangers of loneliness on mental health. The National Alliance on Mental Illness event held at JFK Middle School that I attended was organized by Amy Morales, and we contacted both Senator Kissel's office and Representative Santinello's office to discuss additional funding for mental health in Enfield. This final report is the closeout of the Mental Health and Wellness Committee. I would like to thank Dr. Kalnin and Mr. Longi for their knowledge, support, and dedication to this committee in the last 2 years. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. That's amazing. Go ahead.
Dr. Kalnin and Mrs. Acree, you were passionate about a need that not everybody saw. And I'm not saying the 9 of us didn't. I'm just saying not everybody saw this need that you guys filled. And you may not have accomplished everything that you wanted to over these last couple of years. But I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking this flag and running with it. And I hope that the next board perhaps resurrects your committee and does it the right way, like you guys did. You came up with a plan. You asked if we could do this because it's important. And you had our support. You had the former superintendent's support. You had the interim superintendent's support. You have our current superintendent's support. And I personally just wanted to thank the both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Acree, Dr. Kalnin. A lot of work went into it. We got it going. And you guys did all the work, and then now you're closing it out. So I think that's pretty successful. And I think it's next Friday is the follow-up event for the Enfield Together Coalition. Yep,
okay.
regarding wellness. So is that as Nantucket? If anybody wants to go, that'd be great. But thank you for all the work that you guys did, and thank you, Mr. Longi, for leading the charge with them. Appreciate it. Okay. Pre-ref committee.
Yep. So just like Superintendent Macchio stated, there's a community conversation next Wednesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. at JFK. I think an important facet for families is that the schools will be going back K through 5. An important facet for families to know is that the schools will be going back K through 5. I'm not sure how many people actually realize that piece of it. These questions remain beyond that. Should we have 3 schools versus 4 schools? Will they be renovate to new or new builds? What sites will we be using? Current sites versus new sites. We have a lot of wetlands and landlocked properties. We understand that part of this project will be building reutilization. Will preschool be included in those buildings, or will we continue to have an early learning center? We also have to position ourselves for universal pre-K, which will be a state mandate. We are looking to expand Eagle Academy as well. The committee would like to hear from you, parents, community members. This is a long-term community project. We want to involve the community on the why we are doing this, what are the academic benefits, what are the long-term financial benefits, and how we will benefit as a town as a whole. And just as Superintendent Macchio has stated, next Wednesday we'll be talking about building conditions and the why. So I hope everybody can attend, spread the word. Does anybody else from the committee have anything to add?
I know part of what Tecton, the architecture firm, they developed some boards and flyers, and I think the boards have been around town in significant places like the senior center, the library, and each school building has it I'm just thinking about people in the community. If you haven't seen the boards on the district web or on the Enfield Town website, there's a link to be able to, bring up the flyer on your computer screen and be able to look at it. There's a lot of great information that's worth looking at.
Right. I appreciate you bringing that up. So if you're at any of the schools, stop by and see the boards. I think what's important is that we need to get this on the parents' radar, because a lot of people do not realize that there's been a lot of work done on this plan, and it is eventually going to go to referendum in June of 2026. So there's a lot of work being done and some time to get the community members involved in this project.
Ms. Pickett?
I would say the only thing that I would add is the important piece that Tina mentioned about preschool, and for us to consider kind of what those opportunities are and how we're planning for our students, and the impact on our town-supported services in Stowe, and how we build that partnership and look at the use of our buildings to support not just pre-K to 5, but that early learning and our town-supported services. I'm going to really urge our families and our community residents to be involved in this process, because we are still finalizing plans, so we want your feedback and we want your input.
Yes.
And I just wanted to state that if you cannot attend in person October 22nd from 6 to 7 p.m. at JFK, that we are working on having ETV there. I don't know if it'll be streamed live, but it will be recorded and shown after, or it may even be shown live and then stored. And in a shift on what Enfield PTO was and has been, because of Parent Square and some of the things that the district are doing to try to communicate better with our students and families, we will be transitioning Enfield PTO into sort of like an informational source for what this plan, once decided, will become, and taking advantage of the thousands of eyeballs that we already have, and try to just educate the public, so that way people can say, oh, I didn't know about that, or I didn't see the date on that. So we are going to start transitioning that into something that's going to renovate this town. We've done an amazing job with the new high school. We've done an amazing job with the middle school, but this piece of the puzzle to renovate our elementary schools and to bring those into the today times, and not in 60 and 70-year-old buildings that in some cases, in some areas of the buildings, are not, they're not unsafe, but they are not going to be safe for much longer. And we do need to have the forethought and a plan for where we're going to educate our pre-K through 5th graders in this town. And we can't continue to do that in what will then be 80-year-old buildings. So, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I need a motion to approve the regular Board of Ed meeting minutes from September 23rd.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. LeBlanc.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cushman. Show of hands in favor.
Just a quick
Oh, sorry, discussion.
So I can't remember if we talked about this. I did notice that our narratives are getting a little more brief in the minutes, which is fine. They're obviously a summary, but just to remind the public, obviously, if you have questions about the meeting, the minutes might be the first place, but watching it live or the video might also be more informative as we try to streamline the minutes where it's just recording votes and stuff like that. So just kind of for situational awareness.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cover. Anybody else? All right, show of hands to approve minutes. There is 9 in favor, none against. Okay, Mr. Cover, approval of accounts and payroll.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So continuing from my Finance Committee report earlier, Finance Committee met on October 6, 2025 to review financial statements for the month of September year-to-date and examine various documents related to finance. Our review concluded that there was nothing of significance to report to the full board. Motion is, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. Quote, I hereby certify in the month of September, total expenditures amounted to $6,721,514.32, broken down between payroll totaling $4,723,889.77, and all other accounts totaling $1,997,624.55. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented, end quote, prepared by Lorena Cisneros, business manager.
Motion made by Mr. Cover.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ryder. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Dr. Callen?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Kober. Yes. Mrs. Pickett,
Yes.
Mr. Ryder,
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So second part, preamble will be the same. This will be certification of grant and Head Start expenditures for the month of September. Motion is, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. Quote, I hereby certify in the month of September, the total grant and Head Start expenditures amount to $731,206.42, broken down between payroll totaling $372,728.14 and other accounts totaling $358,478.28. All payments were made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented. End quote. Prepared by Lorena Cisneros, Business Manager.
Motion made by Mr. Cover.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ryder. You'll have to excuse me. I'm slightly exhausted. That was supposed to be a show of hands vote. So I need a show of hands on this vote in favor. 9 in favor, none against.
And there are no further approval or line item transfer items.
Thank you, Mr. Cover. All right, Mr. Ryder, do we have correspondence or board communication?
I just want to reiterate what we were handed this evening, so that way the public, our staff, and our families are informed that we are welcome to join the celebration of our Teacher of the Year, Amy Santinella. That'll be, once again, Thursday, October 30th, 4:15 arrival, 4:45 ceremony, and that'll take place at the John F. Kennedy Middle School Library on 155 Raffia Road, Enfield, Connecticut.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Light refreshments will be served.
Awesome. So we need to go into executive session. We aren't voting on anything, so we don't need to come back out and vote. So we'll just end the meeting after executive session. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion made by
Second.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Second.
By Mrs. Pickett. Show of hands in favor. 9 in favor, none against. Thank you and have a good evening.